Hey, what's up? It's Joe back with a AWS Lambda video. This is a continuation of the video that I did a day ago. So that started off with just going through these things, introduction to AWS Lambda, creating the account, or creating a free tier account, setting up some users, going over some limitations, writing some code in the AWS editor, installing the AWS CLI, as well as the AWS SAM CLI. Both of those are needed for this tutorial. I'm going to assume that you already have these things done. So if you didn't do that, or you don't know how to do that, please do it now, or also go back to the previous video that I've done and get up to speed so you can come back and be able to follow what I'm doing right now. So also, if you're enjoying these videos, please go ahead and subscribe, and do not forget to hit that bell to get those notifications. And with that being said, let's just go ahead and get started. What we're going to do first is install AWS SAM-webpack-plugin. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and go over here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you guys. All right, so what we need to do first is just go to the folder where we're going to set all this stuff up. So I'm going to go to this folder. I think it's called AWS Lambdas. So I'm going to do everything here. So what I need to do first is use that CLI that we installed, and I'm going to just init the folder. I'm going to use the template for Node.js. I'm going to give the project name by the name of Typescript. Okay, so now if I go to that folder, what was just created, and if I do the tree, and I can see that I have a folder created now. It has the events, hello world, test, readme, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so now what I want to do is actually start installing this stuff from here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually move this in the center because it's just going to be all in the way of everything. So first, what I want to do is I'll actually put this in the description of the YouTube video as well. This guy name is, what is his name? Rich Buggy, and he did a really good job creating this because I tried to do it from scratch without using his stuff. I was able to get it working, but it just took way more work. So I'm really happy that he built this because it makes things way easier. Okay, so this actually allows you to be able to write TypeScript and make everything work like pretty cool. So what we're going to do first is go ahead and initialize the directory. So we can use npm or yarn. I'm going to go ahead and use npm. I normally use yarn, but I just feel like switching it up today. So I'm just going to init the directory, and I'm just going to leave everything at default. All right, so now if I do that same thing I just did, now I have a package.json. I didn't have that before. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and install these packages because we're going to need all of this stuff. So what we're going to do is install webpack CLI. Actually, I can talk whilst installing, but let me just add one more while that's going. So we're installing webpack CLI. This stuff is used to actually like take the files and like compile everything for you. We're going to install TypeScript because we're using TypeScript. We need a TS loader that webpack will use to help with compiling down or transpiling the files to JavaScript from TypeScript. And we also picked the SAM Webpack-plugin, AWS SAM Webpack-plugin, which is this page right here we're looking at. And then we got the types for AWS Lambda because we're going to need those because we like typings. And I just added in the types for nodes. And these are all going to be saved as dependencies, dev dependencies. Okay, so along with that, we're going to go ahead and install this stuff. So what this is going to install the AWS SDK, which we need, and also the source map, which is used for debugging. We're not going to go through debugging on this tutorial. We'll look onto that on the next tutorial, the continuation from this one. Okay, so we need to actually create a Webpack plugin. So let's just go ahead and open up this directory and see what we have here. So we have all this stuff, but we don't have a Webpack plugin. So let's just go ahead and do that. Let's just move this out of the way again. Okay. Pack.config.js. Webpack, I think that's what it's called. Yeah. So we need that file there. So what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and just copy this. copy all of this. I can't see where I'm at right now. Where am I? All right. So just copy all of that, go over here, and then, oops, no, wait. I don't think I picked the file. All right, let me try it now. Okay, there we go. Had to make sure I was in the right file. So now we have that file. We're in the webpack.config.js. Gonna format it to get all that stuff out. So there's a couple of things we need to change to get all this working. This is literally just going to help everything compile the TypeScript files and get everything set up correctly. So one thing I'm going to go ahead and change is this. So the author of this package said that AWS recommends that you do not use this part. So I'm just going to always have it put in the AWS SDK. Here I think it was doing it like an option. So I just took that part out so we can always just go ahead and make sure it has the AWS SDK. All right. And there's one other thing that's wrong in this file. Well, that wasn't really wrong. That was just an update. But this here is actually something that's broke. I don't know if the author knows it. I probably should let him know on GitHub. But it has the path variable, but it's not importing it here or requiring it here. So I'm just going to say constant path equals require path. Okay. So now I think everything else is fine with this folder. I think we're good with everything else. So we're going to go ahead and do a tsconfig.json. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this and then just say tsc init. All right. Oops. So now if we look, we'll have the tsc-config.json. If we go here, don't worry about the red, it's fine. Just Vim sometimes acts weird when it gets to this tsconfig.json file, and especially because it has comments all in it and stuff. So Vim acts really weird with that. But what I do want to add, I think I'm going to change the target in here. I'm going to make sure it matches what that one has, 2015, which is just what it's going to compile down to. I don't care about it allowing JS because I'm not going to write anything in JS. In JavaScript, and I'm not going to check the JS file, so I'm going to leave that off. The source map, I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. That will help out with the debugging, and then the ES model thing that's already set up by the TypeScript thing. What I do want to add is this. Okay, I want to get this because I need that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then. Now that's formatted. So now everything is set up here. So this tsconfig file is done. So I can actually just go see what else I need to do. And I want to go to the package.json. So in here, I have some scripts here. So I need to go ahead and get these scripts that he has here. But I'm actually going to delete most of them because I don't really care about all of them. So what I'm going to do is say that. Oops. And then format it. I'm going to get rid of 3 of these. I only care about the build and the watch, which is I just want to only build and only watch. That's all I really need. And then this is just how you run the build, and this is how you run the watch. I'm not going to care about the whole like its development, so I'm just going to just run build or run the watch. And now that I have that, I need to make another correction. Is I need to go ahead and actually, since I'm got all this done, I've done everything I needed in here. So I'm not going to even look in this file anymore. So what I'm going to do is just move this to a different screen and then go here and just close this. Okay. So now we can see everything like easily. So this is a template.yaml file. Okay. So this all got built when we did the SAM init. What's really important to me is the stuff in here. These are like how I tell like what my lambdas are. So you have the resources. I have the hello world function. Just gonna leave that as default for now. We'll make some changes to here at a different time. But what I do need to change is this, because I'm gonna put source hello world, and then I'll tell you why in a second. And then this is like the path. Like once we get our endpoint, that'll be the path, and then this is the type. It'd be like a method like get, put, post, etc., etc. Okay. So what I did was I actually put that as source hello. So let me just go back to my terminal. Which one was my terminal? B5. All right. So I'm just gonna say move. Well, let's just see what I have here. All right. So I'm gonna make a directory called source, and then I'm gonna move the hello world into that directory. So now if I look, and if I go back, and I can look here as well, it says went inside the hello world directory. So there's a couple of things I want to actually get rid of. So I'm just going to go to source, hello. So I'm going to remove this package.json because I don't need that. Actually, just go to this so we can see the hidden files as well. I'm going to remove this .ignore. I don't need that. And I'm going to remove this package.json because this is inside the source hello world. I don't need all that. And I'm also going to change this app.js to an app.ts because everything's going to be written in TypeScript. So now that I've done that, if I go back here and refresh, so I have the app.ts here. That's all I have. In the test, I'm going to leave that for now, although I'm not going to use it at the moment. And everything else, I think it's pretty much good to go. So let's go ahead and go to this file. So let's just get rid of this. Oops. What's going on? All right, so now we're in the app.ts file. So I'm getting some errors here, and I'll explain those in a second. So what I need to do is actually fix this and turn this into a TypeScript file. So this is just what's already built in here from the init file for the SAM. So I'm just going to get rid of this stuff. It just tells you what the different parameters are for this function. So you have your event, your context, and your object. I only really care about event, and that's just what's going to get passed in. So I'm just going to actually go ahead and delete this stuff. And then I'm going to change this to be like a CS file. a TS file. So put constant lambda handler equals async, and that's that. I don't care about the context. And what I need to do is actually pass in a type for this event. So what I can do is say import, I don't remember the name of it, so let's just do this for now. Oops. I think it's API, yeah, gateway event. Okay. So now that we have that, we can do API gateway event. Okay, so now we have a type for that. And also want to go ahead and just take out, well, not take out, but since we're not using that event right now, we will in a second, well, we will later. Just gonna go ahead and put underscore. Excuse me, so it's not complaining about it. And also going to export this. Okay. Oops. So now we've got rid of all of our errors. Okay. So now if we were to run this locally and get an endpoint, it just will return this response, which is going to be a status code of 200, and then the body is going to be hello world. Okay. So I want to actually try this out. So what I need to do first is actually build it. So let's just build it. So we're going to say, let's just go back out of here. So now we're inside, now we're inside of the main directory, AWS-TypeScript. So what I want to do is actually run the build. So I'm going to say npm run build. Okay. So now it's building. And since that build, if I refresh, now I have this folder. So this is what the SAM uses, SAM CLI uses, so we can actually go ahead and run everything locally. And it also uses this to actually deploy your code to the AWS server. So now that we have that locally, let's actually do this. So let's create another terminal. Oops, not here. Let me do that there. Oh, let me do that either. All right, so let's create another terminal. And in here, we're going to say SAM. So I always have trouble with this. All right, so normally I wouldn't put this full path in like I'm doing now, but there's like some issue with SAM when you try to have it do the local start API. It doesn't take it if I just put SAM, although SAM is actually there. Like I have to put in the full path. So if you can get it to work without putting in the full path, then just put sudo SAM local start API. I have to put in the full path to get it to work. Okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. It's gonna ask me for my password, which is fine. So now that's building. All right. So it's telling me that it's built. I don't have to worry about changing this file. So you can browse it above endpoint, which is here, and I have my hello there because it knew from the function. And you don't need to restart or reload this SAM CLI while working on your functions. Changes will be reflected instantly and automatically. You only need to restart SAM CLI if you update your AWS SAM template. Okay, so which is the template.yaml. So that's the only time I need to worry about restarting this. So now that I have that running, I'm going to go ahead and go to Postman. Okay, so it's going to say localhost 3000 and then call it hello. See if it worked. Yes, it did work. It returned the hello world. So why did that work? Oops. Okay, where are we? TS. Okay. All right, so it returned hello world. So I'm going to say hello world again. Now if I go back, it's not going to change. The reason being because I didn't rebuild the files, so it doesn't know that it changed. So what I can do to fix that is, instead of doing the build, I can do a watch. So where is the terminal that I was using? Let's go B5. So instead of doing a build, I'll do a watch. So now when I do that, and I still have the SAM CLI running for the local stuff, and I haven't restarted that. So now when I go back to here, and if I run it, of course it's going to have to change this time. Hello world again. So if I actually go back and say if I wanted to change something here. So let's put hello world again and again. Okay. If I go back this time, because it's watching the files, it's going to update. Okay, so that's good. So now what do you want to do? We want to actually, let's see what that was on, say B12, no, B13 maybe. All right. So now we're actually going to stop this. Did I just remove that? I didn't mean to do that. 1 second. So now I just end up stopping that, okay? So what I'm going to do is actually have it go ahead and build or deploy. So it's just SAM deploy -- guided. So what this is going to do is actually push my changes to the AWS web server. Okay, so we're going to say do that. So it's going to say give it a name, like a stack name. It's going to call it JDB AWS Typescript. I don't know. I'm going to put the region as EA East 2 because that's the region that it has me in. And if you watch my last video, you would already know that the regions should always match. And let me just move this out the way up there. Okay, that's fine. So I'm just going to confirm that and confirm that, confirm that. And while that's doing that, let's just go here. So these are the lambdas, right? I'm already logged in and I'm going to refresh. There are no lambdas here, as you can see. So I'm going to go back and there's me one more question. Deploy this change set. I'm going to say yes. And also, by the way, this wouldn't work if you haven't configured the AWS to have your key and your secret key for that specific user. And I also talked about that in my last video as well. So probably should watch the last video if you're getting confused. But hopefully you can follow. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And then while that's happening, I'm going to go, well, when that's done, I'll go back and then I'll refresh that page again. And then it should have this lambda here if I did everything correctly. And while that's happening, I'm just going to say cheers. It's been a while since I said cheers. And yeah, so that's almost done. I haven't seen any errors yet, which is a good thing. I'm seeing all complete. And it should be telling me that it's completely done. Yes, everything was successful. So now if I go back here and I actually refresh it, I should get something here. So yeah, I have that here now. So this has been built. As you can see, I didn't even come in here and do anything from the actual web. Like I did everything locally and use the command line to push everything, which is really, really cool. Okay, so now let's see what we have here. So that's the one that we just built. So if you look on here, and if you want to see the actual app.js, this is it. It's all like minified, which I also think is pretty cool. Then you have your mapping stuff, which is what's used for the debugger. Okay, so how do you actually, like, where's the endpoint? How do you actually use it? Okay, let's go back here. Look at applications. So this is the one I just created, JDB AWS Typescript. If I click on here, if I go down, I see an endpoint. So this is my endpoint. Okay, so if I go back to here, let's move this down again. Oops, what am I doing? And let's just add one more here. So I'm going to do this and say hello. So as you can see, this is the production. Like, this is not local. You have the hello world again and again. And then this is the local one. Oh, hello world again and again. And if you ever want to make changes to here, you just have to redeploy. Like, anytime you make a change, you just need to redeploy. Okay. So now that we have that working, we've seen how we can get everything working locally and then push everything up as well as test locally. So I'm not doing any debugging right now. We're going to do that at a different time. But I do want to touch on this. The last part of this video is adding a secure string parameter. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and do it here so I can actually see the code and then can see everything that I'm doing. Just going to go to that folder again. Code testing, AWS, Lambda, and then I think it's like AWS Typescript. If I list, those are like all my different files. So now that I'm in here, I can say AWS SSM. SSM is a part of what's installed when you install those CLIs. I'm going to say put parameter. And then the name is going to be the name that I want to give my key. So for this, I'm just going to call it key name or something. It can be really whatever you want. Okay. And then the value, actually I need to do one more thing here. I need to say dash name. Okay. And then dash value, I'm just going to call it secret value or something. Okay. And then from here, I'm going to just make sure I put the type as a secure string. And this is just going to tell it to encrypt it. So that was quick, right? So you're like, what just happened? What did it do? I don't see anything. So now let's go back to here. And let's actually go ahead and pin the, I think it's called the, what is it called? System manager, I think it's called. Okay, so let's just look at system manager. And if we look at the parameter store, and this is some other thing I was doing before, but we look at here, the key name, this is what we just created. And if you look at the show for the value, you can see secret value. If I wanted to create another one, just in case you don't believe me, I'll just call this one key name 2. And then secret value 2. So this is what we're going to be using to actually be able to access these secret names and secret values without having to write in the code. It's almost like you're accessing like an API key that you don't want to put in your code. This is what we're doing this for, because it's actually pretty cool. So if I were to go back, and as you can see, key name 2, and then the value is secret value 2. Okay, so how would I use this? So let's say, for instance, I go back to my code, right? And I go back to my TS file. Oops, I can't type today, worth nothing. All right, let me just do one thing, get rid of that. So let's move this out the way for now, because it's just going to kill me. Let's just put this in here. Oops. And then format. Just move that out the way for now. Okay, just to make sure that everything is fine. Okay, so what we want to do is actually use the AWS SDK so we can actually access those secret keys. So now that we have this, I actually want to go in and use the secret key that we created from here. and actually use that to, where is that? So yeah, use the secret keys that we created and the secret value to actually write code to be able to access that. So I'm going to need a couple of things to change in here. So I'm going to go ahead and import SSM for the systems manager from AWS SDK. Okay. And what I'm going to do is actually create some stuff. So first of all, I want to show you what's on the what's it called, AWS SDK documentation. So there's this thing called SSM, which is what we're using. And if you look here, SSM is the systems manager. I don't know what the first S is for, but SM is like systems manager. So if we look at the SSM, it's not what I want. Well, that is SSM. Oh yeah, so we're on the SSM, right? So I searched for the SSM there and I got to SSM. And then if we actually go to look for something called get parameter, which is there. So we're going to do something like this. We're going to pass in these params for the name, string value, and the decryption. And we're going to put true because when we did when we created our key and value pair, we had the security, I think we called it secure string. So we're going to need to make sure that we do with decryption as true, so it returns back a secure string. Okay, and we're also going to do the get parameter. When this, we're going to use that to actually get the parameter back with these params that we pass in. I'm not going to worry about this stuff. I'm just going to get the parameters, and then this actually returns a aws.request. And with this, you actually have access to this. So you can make it a promise and it returns a deniable promise. Okay. So with that, I can await for that. Okay. So let's just go ahead and try to do that. So, oops. So we have this here. We want to just say constant params equals, how do they do it here? Just go back. Go back. I think I went too far back. Oh yeah, then get parameter. Okay, so we're gonna do something like this, name and decryption. So let's just copy this. And then let's just paste that here. We're just gonna leave this at true. And then the string value, I don't actually remember what we called it when we created it. So we're gonna call the key name is gonna be key name 2. Actually, we can do either one because we had both. We'll do key name. Okay, so we're just gonna do key name. And then with decryption is true. And then here is where we're going to actually, I'm sorry, we should put this into a different function. So let's just create a new async function. We'll just call it get parameter equals async. Gonna have a function. We're gonna have return a promise of a string. And then in here, we're going to go ahead and do this. And then we're going to say constant result. Well, actually, we need to create an instance of the SSM for the AWS SDK, the SSM that's up here. You need to create an instance of that to say SSM equals new SSM. So now we can say constant result equals SSM dot get parameter, which is what we just looked at on the SSM documentation, or the AWS documentation. We're just going to pass in our params value. And then remember I said it had that dot promise. So that was from the documentation as well. And then with TypeScript, it tells you all the stuff it has, as well as you can actually see it returns a deniable promise. So that's why it's so cool to have TypeScript, because it tells you so much. It'd be really hard trying to do this without TypeScript, like using like JavaScript. I mean, using Node.js without the TypeScript, because you won't have any IntelliSense. So you just have to like try to know all this stuff off the top of your head, or go back to the documentation every 2 minutes. So now that we have that, since this is a promise, we need to await for this. Okay, because this is an async function, we're going to wait in here for this. And right now we're not doing anything with the result, and that's why this is highlighting, because I'm not returning the promise of a string, and I'm not returning I'm not using the get parameter here, and it also is saying I'm not returning the right thing if I was to actually hover over it. So we're just going to say return and then result. It gives you some more information, and that's also in the documentation. I'm not sure if I showed that part or not, but it shows like the parameter. And here we're going to say dot, and we're just going to do value. Okay, this actually should not be there, it should be here. So result.parameter.value. So pretty much saying that type string undefined, and then says it's not assignable to type string because it's expecting it to be a string. So the way this works is, and I think it's Typescript 3.8. This is very similar to .NET, like C#. They have this like question mark, so pretty much saying that if I get to this result.parameter and this parameter is null, then I return null or undefined or whatever. If it has a value, then I go to the next one. So before, you will have to like try to do something like this, result.parameter, and then do that, and then do result.parameter.value, like something like that, to be able to get it. So it says pretty much if this exists, then I go to the next one. So we don't have to do all that now, but the reason why this is erroring out is because I need to also put that it could be undefined. So I'm just gonna put I don't know if I can put it like that. I don't think I could. So yeah, I'm just gonna put this. And now just tell me that I haven't used the get parameter. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that. I'm just going to say constant. Let's just say secret value equals get parameter. We're going to wait for this as well because this is a promise. And then I'm just going to go ahead and pass that here. So hopefully I did this right. And let's see if it works. Yes. So as you can see, I got the secret value. Did I call it secret value, or is that just a coincidence? Okay, let me call it something else because it just looks like it didn't work. So instead of calling it secret value here, let's just say some secret. Let's just say secret, my secret. And then here we're going to just change this to my secret. Just so you can see that it's not just returning secret value because the name was secret value. So now if I go back here, it still return the same thing. It just said now it says my secret. So that lets you see that you can have like a key and then have it stored somewhere else and never have it written in your actual code. Like it's nowhere in my code. I'm just connecting using the AWS SDK, and I'm connecting to be able to actually get that that value. And we're going to go ahead and stop here. And then on the next video, we're going to actually take this a little bit further and create like an actual API call using the movie database and get back some results, and also store that key up on the in the parameter store, and then be able to use that key and then do some API calls and use Postman again, and just keep building on this so you can get better with the lambdas. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And again, if you're enjoying them, go ahead and subscribe. Do not forget to hit that bell to get those notifications, and come back in like 2 days and I will have part 3 of this AWS Lambda. Just going to keep moving it forward. All right. Peace out.